37 and 38 over there.
That was radiotherapy? Oh, yes. This here was where, Ward 22, 23. Moving the equipment was done, I think, in the middle of the night.
Right.
Yeah, because of the threat of the radioactivity.
Yes, I wondered about that.
Yeah,
when you just
my office is where that crane is now.
They're all going, I don't remember that one.
because there were so many jokes about it all the time. I think I worked there for a while.
could see people walking in. They were nice.
You can give a ringing up on the results of the test. Sorry, you've got the wrong ward where 33.
There was a gate in here, back entrance, from males and females. And there was also the front entrance. Because I used to use a cut from the bus.
Effectively the whole site that then became the General Hospital. Now the workhouse itself here opened in 1839. The new Poor Law of 1834, so the parliamentary legislation came in 1834. This site was finally finished in 1839. And what the new Poor Law said, well, the Poor Law, first of all, dates right back to the reign of Elizabeth I. I think you probably already know that. And in the Elizabethan times, it was a way of controlling farm labourers in terms of preventing them becoming itinerant labourers. It was a way of holding them in the parish when there wasn't work. So in other words, if there was a bad harvest and they didn't get any work, they would give them a little bit of cash just to keep them, because they didn't like the idea of roving, desperate, unemployed and hungry farm labourers. By the 1820s, all the four parishes within Newcastle and some of the outer townships had their own what they called a poorhouse for looking after those basically that couldn't find work. So in other words, the elderly, the infirm, orphans, and what they referred to as lunatic or incurables, but people with severe mental health.
Got an imbeciles ward.
Yes,
yeah, I've got an imbeciles ward.
Female, yes.
Now, actually, by the early 19th century, the attitude, of course, had begun to change because this country became obviously a leading purveyor of free market economics, and that free market, of course, also applied to the labour market. And so the attitude changed. It was a combination of two things, really. One, it was a change in ideology in terms of seeing labour as should be mobile, literally get on your bike and go and find work somewhere else. But it was also the problem of the cost of maintaining so many people, because in the early part of the 19th century, mainly because of wars with France, the Napoleonic Wars, there were long periods when actually there was high levels of unemployment. And so obviously, therefore, the demand on the poor law became greater at certain periods. So it's a bit like today, you know, obviously if the demand increases, they don't want to pay out for them, they have to reform the system. So the new poor law basically said that all those old, locally administered poorhouses needed to be closed and everybody had to be moved to one giant workhouse. And the change in the name is significant because obviously anybody who came here had to work to justify why they were being provided with lodging and food. Sewing, crochet work. If there were men, they often did breaking of stones, labouring work to help with the road repairs and stuff like that. Now here, I mean, I love this, the vagrant ward. This entrance was specifically for when I was a boy, we used to call them tramps, but it's homeless people. That's the main Newcastle to Carlisle road, so there would inevitably be a lot of passing homeless people coming here in search of work, or hoping for work.
Before they're going to have to hike up.
But it's all the old films as well, you know, the old black and white films. The moment they would come on and someone would start coughing, TB, she'll be dead.
morgue.
And that entrance is where the undertakers used to come and take them. No.
I had this down, did I? No. It's not later.
So the public is turn left.
Outside on the, if it was a nice sunny day like today.
Did they still smoke on the ward smoke? Because obviously, I remember Ward
Yes.
17 used to have a table up there.
Yeah. And actually,
To develop it into a health innovation neighborhood. So it's a neighborhood that focuses on health and well-being throughout the life course. So it connects well into the research that's going on at the other end of the site. But the idea is over time that there'll be houses developed, so mixed tenure housing. There'll be research and innovation spaces, educational and healthcare spaces, and then community and green spaces. So the idea is I think there'll be 7 acres of green space that's publicly available. It's obviously a very long-term project, and you're sort of seeing the beginning of it. I think they're thinking about 15 or so years. Really hard to say it do it that way. But yeah, that's kind of the general idea of what's going on here. So it'll be like, I think if you think of the kind of research that can be kind of trialed and tested, so looking at things like how to make houses more adaptable so people can live in them longer, how to make more sustainable infrastructure, so loads of interesting things around the topics of health, sustainability, and kind of digital technologies. So that's the overview.
yes,
Yeah.
cost of the,
And we do know that we were the nurses who
And to honour
worked
it.
here were the poor nurses. We were the workhouse nurses, and the proper nurses were at the RVI.
And then the freedom was like,
You'll never know that.